We're clones. Clones.
Dean, that is awesome.
Seeing Hank react in such a positive way to this terrible news, it influenced me slightly to stop being so gloomy about everything, and you don't need to be like that, and I've always taken that with me.
FlynnsArcade.
Hi, this is FlynnsArcade. In this video, I'm going to go through the various fashion choices of the Venture brothers and how they illustrate their character arc throughout the run of the show. How well do you remember their various looks? Because they had quite a lot. So join me as we see Hank and Dean grow up on screen. Before I start, please could you do me a solid and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And now, let's go. Alter egos. The pressure of being a Venture has got too much for Hank at times, and he's developed a system of alter egos in order to help him cope with the tribulations of life. And here's a few of them. Russian Guyevich, Enrico Matassa, Detective Hank with his hat and his detective's whip.
Some mystery. I always thought the missing mom had turned out to be the Queen of Atlantis or some other swell. I had my money and she was trapped in the quantum realm. I thought she was a prostitute.
And High Roller Hank from All This and Gargantua too.
Yes, I'd like 20 Hank bucks of plastic gambling money, please. Because I am an adult of legal gambling age.
Dean doesn't really have any alter egos, but he briefly sort of has one when he had his Ring of Power hallucination when he totally lost his moorings on reality.
I'm not a crybaby!
Don't kid yourself there. You're a bit of a pussy. No offense.
I can do this. I am the chosen one. I have the Ring of Power!
The princess is completely screwed.
There's a princess?
Other lives. Because Hank's dad isn't there to pay attention to him because he's so concerned with his brother and also his own problems, it means that Hank gets to have some pretty cool adventures. I mean, they're all quite problematic and they always end badly, but they are quite cool. And those impacted on his outfit choices, and both of them were really good. A particular high spot was when he started working as Wonder Boy for Captain Sunshine. I absolutely loved their rainbow suits for that.
Oh, who's the Wonder Boy?
Just you never mind.
I'd sure love to tie him to a giant typewriter.
You know the rules, Scorpio. He's off limits during training.
Haven't broken his chariot, eh? But I hope you'll do a better job with this one. Oh, so sit at a C-lister like the monarch.
That's it! Stay here, Wonder Boy!
And he also got to be the Countess for the old Team Sphinx and had that amazing strength suit.
You look just like the Countess in that outfit. After she left him, he hasn't been the same. Yeah, that was her strength suit.
Totally forgot it was a strength suit.
So he did quite well with his side hustles. Dean doesn't get to do any solo adventures, but we do get to see a couple of nightmarish versions of him. One of them is Triana's vision of the future Dean.
Is anyone in here?
Hi, Sugar Dumpling. I was just vacuuming, and after this, I'm gonna watch TV and then cry myself to sleep. I don't know, I might wake you up in the middle of the night and threaten to kill myself if you leave me again. So, how's work?
And that's, sadly enough for Dean, it was the sight of that was one of the main reasons that Triana decided to move away in the first place, which started Dean's downward spiral. And we also met D19, the failed Dean clone.
What? Why do they get to have everything? I'm as smart as they are. I'm smarter even. They keep going to sleep with the angels, but I'm still here.
Aren't you a little old for stuffed animals? Don't you think you should give that back to the real Dean?
I am a real Dean.
No, you were ejected. You weren't good enough.
You mean I wasn't pretty enough?
Very strangely, Dean wound up moving into the attic after the sad demise of D19. Gone but not forgotten. Daddy issues. One of the saddest aspects of the Venture family is their dad's lack of understanding about the nature of his son's personalities and talents and abilities and wants and desires in life. He completely doesn't get them in most situations. He remains convinced that Dean should have been Rusty Venture, his younger self and the star of a cartoon.
Dean believes this crap. He should have been Rusty Venture, boy adventurer.
Whereas he believes that Hank fights against the venture lifestyle.
Hank got this life thrown at him, and he fights against it. Just like I did.
And would rather be anywhere else than part of their family. However, he couldn't be more wrong about them. Dean hates being a venture. He's always looking for opportunities to get out of the lifestyle. For example, he falls in love with the next door neighbour and he wants to go to public school with her rather than continue learning in this learning bed. He also dreams of being a journalist, and he runs a little zine which he calls Adventure Home News, and he wears a proper old-fashioned journalist's outfit for that. That's really what he wants to do in life. But his dad can't see it, and he just can't see how ideally suited his other son Hank is to be an adventurer. Even Dermot's mum, Nikki, who was the president of the Rusty Venture fan club, can see just how similar Hank is to the original Rusty Venture, not the real life Dr. Venture, who's, you know, quite a depressed and broken man. The Rusty Venture of the cartoon, the fictional version really, Hank's the perfect version of that lifestyle.
You remind me so much of him.
You daffy? Dean's just like my old man. I'm the black sheep of the Venture flock. I'm trouble.
No, I mean, you're like Rusty from the cartoon. Your dad's a scared little has-been, but you are just like the real Rusty Venture.
But his dad just can't see it, and so what he does is he consistently sidelines Hank and favouritises his brother Dean.
Look at the disc. It's all about Dean, isn't it? Me.
With tragic results a lot of the time, and it fuels a lot of the events in the story, but it's always really sad to see, and it's amazing just how wrong he's actually got his sons. We first see this manifested in clothing when Dr. Venture buys Dean his first speed suit. Dean hates it.
My big surprise is a jumpsuit?
Speed suit. I don't want to hear you ever say jumpsuit, Dean. Not ever. Speed suit.
However, it's not all doom and gloom for Hank. Because of his absentee father, well, emotionally neglectful father, he's always there, but he is emotionally neglectful. Hank is forced to look elsewhere for father figures, and he finds them in his bodyguard Brock.
Why are you here? Why are you wearing that? Why didn't you say goodbye to me?
Hey, listen, buddy. You have to trust me. You can't tell anybody we were here. This is our little secret.
Why did you leave me?
Hank, I'll never leave you.
But also in Batman, who isn't really a fictional character in the Ventureverse. He seems to be a real person who, I believe, actually knows Captain Sunshine. And, you know, at least he's got a couple of wholesome male role models in his life.
Hank, no! It's suicide!
Then I'll see you in heck.
Grief. The biggest change of appearance with the boys is fueled by traumatic events, namely the resignation of Brock, who leaves the family for a period of time to go on some other adventures, and Triana, the girl that Dean's in love with, moving away to live with her mom. Both the characters are bereft with the loss of their friends, and this has a visible impact on the boys. When Brock left, Hank started wearing Brock's jacket constantly.
Hank, where is your uniform? Not wearing that clown suit, and you are not the boss.
And it's really quite sad to see, but it's also very touching to see. But what was really great about it is Brock's jacket fueled Hank's creativity, which inspired him to write the song Jacket by his band Shallow Gravy.
Yellow jacket, street jacket, smoky jacket, full metal jacket, black jacket, leather jacket, varsity jacket, it's Brock's jacket.
Shallow Gravy also had a bit of an influence on fashion style because he had some pretty cool outfits when in the band, and so that was a good way of him expressing himself and his newfound freedom as he got older. But I really liked the jacket storyline because whilst it was so sad, I really liked to see Hank processing his grief over the loss of Brock in a really healthy way, and his creative outpourings demonstrate just how strong a young man he actually is, and it's really nice to see that. Dean, on the other hand, reacted completely differently to the loss of Triana, and this had an impact on his physical appearance too. He started wearing a black speed suit and he dyed his hair black and he started spiking his hair up.
Ah! Huh.
Whoa! Dean with the new look.
Good morning, son. We were just going over the plans for the new... Was that a can of gasoline?
He reminded me a lot of the Jimmy character from the Green Day video, Jesus of Suburbia. And he was really angry. He actually even started to look like the black sheep of the family. I mean, everyone else was wearing blue, but he stood out in his black speed suit rage. I actually really like the black speed suit, but I'm quite embarrassed to admit this. I actually thought he looked pretty cool at the time, but since looking back on these old episodes, I've started to think he's a complete dickhead, to be honest. However, it's not just the loss of Triana. Shortly after this, he had to deal with the shocking revelation that he's actually a clone, and he went from angry to depressed, and this meant he grew his hair out and it turned back to its normal auburn shades, and you could just have like black ends, and he started to look a bit more colourful, but it wasn't really an improvement. He just probably was a bit easier to live with, but he still was not in a good way.
Now I don't even know who I am. I can't even tell my brother. He'd be devastated. It's like I'm different from everyone else, and I'm just completely alone.
When Brock returned to the boys' lives, their relationship with their new bodyguard, Sergeant Hatred, improved considerably. And Sergeant Hatred called on his military background to encourage them all to wear a sort of uniform. So they all started wearing blue speed suits at this stage, and they actually all looked quite stylish as a family. And that was quite nice to see too, because we could see them all existing as a family unit for once, and Sergeant Hatred getting on quite well with him, providing he didn't start falling off the wagon and having crying jags in the bathroom. It was going quite well.
You can't do that!
Sure I can! Gary Glitter told me where to get one, and Dean? Dean, wouldn't you like to have a beautiful brown little brother, sister?
No! And beautiful boy girls aren't the answer! You have to fight the bad urges!
Origin story. Jackson Public was heavily influenced by Dan Close, the cartoonist and graphic novelist, perhaps best known for Ghost World. He was also influenced by the Tom Swift Jr. novels, and these influences led to the 1960s aesthetic that was Hank and Dean. As mentioned in the show, Hank was Fred from Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? And Dean was Weezer in their Buddy Holly video. And this remained their look throughout season 1. However, as we moved into season 2, after the shocking revelation that the boys had actually died and been clones many times, the final version of the boys got an opportunity to grow up, and their appearance started slowly and surely to change, and this reflected their growing personalities. I like to think that the final form of Hank and Dean was the first ones that actually fully became human. I mean, these are the ones that became, had an opportunity to grow up beyond the age of 16. So they really started to grow as people. They started it in season 2, and this arc went on throughout the rest of the show. Success! In season 6, the theme of failure, which dominated the show, was abandoned by Doc and Jackson. They decided to make the family successful. They inherited JJ's fortune and moved to New York City. The boys reacted very differently to the move. Hank had been very entrepreneurial back at the compound and set up quite a successful, if rather bizarre, business called Hank Co.
Not quite what I had in mind for employment.
Hi, so you have an interest in our fine collection of remote controls?
Which featured their own t-shirts. Also, there was a Shallow Gravy t-shirt as well, which I neglected to mention.
You ain't never gonna stop me from overly sexualized dancing and dressing like an indigent? Loud rock music!
I mean, he was quite good at producing t-shirts. However, upon moving to New York and inheriting billions of dollars, it meant that Hank didn't need to have Hank Co. anymore. And this creates a massive change in style for him. He decided to embrace the lifestyle of the idle rich, and he started dressing like an international playboy. His style icon at the time was Justin Bieber, and he started to dress an awful lot like him when they first moved to New York City.
Can I borrow your binoculars to look for naked ladies off the roof?
Sure. Oh, goddamn, Hank. Those outfits are killing me. Every time I see you, I want to wring your neck.
Gosh, Brock, it's great to have you back too.
Dean, however, decides to use the money he inherited far more constructively and decides to enrol at the exclusive Stuyvesant University. His interview is quite interesting because for the first time we see Dean wearing a decent suit. I strongly suspect that his previous suits have been ones that he inherited from his dad, and they're always terrible, so it was really nice to see him in a proper dark form-fitting suit, and he looked really good. So unsurprisingly, his interview for the university was successful and he enrolled as a student there. Upon embarking on his studies at the university, he started to wear the Stuyvesant University sweatshirt all the time to demonstrate his scholarly nature. When Hank's girlfriend Serena also enrolls at the university, we know that there's going to be problems, and it's a stark illustration of her growing connection with Dean and its resulting tragic consequences. Normality ensues. If the Ventures coped poorly with a lifetime of failure, they coped even worse with a lifetime of success. Things weren't going so well for them in New York. They needed a change. In Radiant as the Blood of the Baboon Heart, Hank sells all his fancy Playboy clothes as he longs to return to the simpler life in the compound, and he starts to wear a Venture Industries hoodie. Meanwhile, Dean continues to wear the hoodie from his university, and the pair start to look quite similar to each other again.
Oh, thank God. Sorry, Dino. Guess I had a little residual anger there, huh?
No, I kind of deserve that.
Hey, thanks for coming to rescue me.
While searching for his brother, Dean starts carrying around Hank's old blue kerchief back from season 1 whilst he attempts to find him, and he briefly starts wearing it himself because he thinks he's got vampire bites. I like to think that the reason why Dean thought he'd become a vampire because he felt so guilty about his behaviour towards his brother, and it was kind of a visual manifestation for the guilt he felt, but that could be just a theory of mine. But I really like to see him wearing his brother's blue kerchief. It was a real hark back to the old days. Dean is also briefly compared to the Unabomber by his half-brother Dermot just before he gives him a right kicking. And not for the first time either.
Tell us where he is, Dermot! Where's this? The good cop Unabomber routine? Well, I ain't no snitch. Where is he? Whoa! All right, fine. You went to look for your mom.
Eventually the boys are reunited and they resume their old life back at the Venture compound. Since Dr. Venture has lost all his money, it's unlikely that Dean will be able to afford to go back to his expensive university. So finally, he'll have an opportunity to genuinely follow in his father's footsteps as a university dropout. Conclusion. So please let me know what you think. Do you remember Hank and Dean's various different looks? Do you have any particular favourite looks? Do you have any particularly strong feelings about the characters? I've done a major turnaround over the years because when I first watched the show all those years ago, I liked Dean a lot more than his brother. I found his brother a bit annoying, really. But rewatching it again to make this series, I've started to really, really like Hank and to feel really bad for him because of the way his dad treats him. That said, though, Hank's got the most amazing attitude to his various problems. He just doesn't let anything get him down, and I find that really inspirational. One of my favourite ever scenes in The Venture Bros is the scene when Dean tells Hank that they're both clones.
We are clones, Hank. Our whole lives, it's a lie. We're not really Hank and Dean anymore. We've died like 13 times, and now we're copies of ourselves. We're clones. Clones.
Dean, that is awesome.
You're not upset?
About what? That I'm like some kind of super cool, probably magic Highlander cyborg clone?
Dean's been angst-ridden for a couple of years since learning this horrible information, and he tells Hank, and Hank just thinks it's brilliant. It was a real paradigm shifter watching that episode because I've always been a bit like Dean and I tend to look on the gloomy side of things, and so seeing Hank react in such a positive way to this terrible news, it influenced me slightly to stop being so gloomy about everything, and you don't need to be like that, and I've always taken that with me, and that's partly why I like Hank so much nowadays. But when it comes down to it, I don't really like the idea of having to pick between the two of them because that's just basically what the dad does, and that's why I'm so angry with him so much of the time. I've made a lot of videos about the Venture Bros, so please check out my playlist if you're into the show. Please, could you drop me a comment as well, because apparently those really help the algorithm and those can help the channel grow. If you don't know what's right, please could you drop me a Go Team Venture or a Spanakopter or an Ignore Me. If you've enjoyed this video, please could you do me a massive solid and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm on a mission to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so every little helps and I really do appreciate the support. That's all from me. I upload videos every week, so unless something comes up in the meantime, I'll see you next Sunday.